So we are here for SAP HANA security training. SAP HANA Securities. So before we start SAP HANA security, we need to understand what exactly SAP HANA and the purpose of SAP HANA. Okay, what exactly SAP HANA? SAP HANA is a database. HANA is what? It's a database, and it is also called as IMC object, in-memory computing engine. Why it has a craze and demand in the market, and how this SAP HANA database is different from the other databases. SAP HANA database is what? SAP HANA database is a database and it's an IMC object. IMC stands for in-memory computing engine. It means the entire data of SAP HANA database is going to be stored in memory. Okay, so it's a in-memory database. And now coming to the other databases. Other databases are what? Traditional databases. These are called traditional databases. Okay. So when it comes to traditional databases, we have number of RDBMS databases. Okay. Example, Oracle, MS SQL, MaxDB. We have number of traditional databases. Okay. So what is the main functionality of the traditional database? The main functionality of the traditional database is storing the data into the database. What is main functionality? Storing the data into the database is the main functionality of the traditional database. Okay. So is it enough to store the data into the database? If you go back to 10 years or if you go back to 20 to 25 years, okay, the database introduced in the year of 1970s. Okay, the first database released in the market was in 1970s. And if you go back to older days, what was the purpose of the database? The purpose of the database to store the data. It means whatever the operations you are performing in your organization, you need to store the data so that whenever it is required, you can retrieve the data. Before database, what you had? You had manual process. Means whatever the transaction, for example, you are writing sales transaction. You have some sales transaction on a particular day. What you would do? You would write those sales transactions on a paper. That's a manual work. When database came, all the transactions, all the daily transactions were written into the database so that whenever it is required, we can retrieve the data and we can check what transactions we have made. Okay, so that was the main functionality of the traditional database in the beginning days. Okay, so but storing the data into the database is enough for the organizations who are using databases now? No, it is not enough. The reason is, in older days, just we needed to store the data, whatever the operations we have performed, that should be stored securely. Whenever we need that, we can retrieve the data and we can read the data. Okay, but now coming to the current generation, current market, along with the writing, we also need to have reading capability. Understood? Why we need to have reading capability? Because we are going to perform analytical operations. What kind of analytical operations? The basic thing I can tell you is, I just want to check the last 10 years of sales of my organization. In this last 10 years of sales, I want to find which year I had the highest sales for my organization? In which year I had the lowest sales in my organization? And if I had the lowest sales in a particular year in the last 10 years, why I have lowest sales? These are what? Analytical operations. And these analytical operations require reading capability. Understood? It requires reading capability. So now the question is, does traditional database has reading capability? Yes, of course it has reading capability. But it does not have that reading capability which requires for analytical operations. Nowadays, when you are using the database, obviously writing the data into the database is the primary functionality of any database, but along with the writing capability we also need to have reading capability, because writing is not enough for the current demand. Along with the writing capability we also need to have reading capability. But when it comes to the traditional database, you have a very low reading capability and you have a very powerful writing mechanism. What I can tell you is, traditional database has a very powerful writing mechanism, but it lacks reading capability. Understood? For example, I want to perform a report on a table. The table size is 100 GB, in which you have some millions of records. Okay? And how you are going to perform a report? I want to retrieve only one record from these millions of records from 100 GB of table. So when I execute the report, the database has to read all the millions of records and then it has to give you one particular record. Imagine how much time it takes. It takes around 10 minutes. Understood? Because it has to read some millions of records, and out of these millions of records it has to bring only one record, which will take minimum 10 minutes. Understood? So by this what we can understand, traditional database has a very powerful writing capability, but it lacks the reading capability. Understood? Okay? Okay. Yes, please.
Yeah, I have a query. Like SAP BW systems will only for analytics, right?
Yes, exactly. That is one of the data warehousing applications.
Yeah. So until now, traditional databases are tied up to SAP BW, and we are capturing all the data what you were telling from BW itself, right?
Not from BW itself, because even in BW, where you are going to store the data, you are going to store the data in the database itself. BW is the application from where you can perform the reporting activities, from where you can create analytical view, or you can create cubes, you can create number of objects on top of the database. Understood? BW is just a data warehousing application, and it is not going to store the data in the application, it is going to store the data in the database itself. We'll also discuss about how it is going to provide all those functionalities. Okay? Okay. So what we have understood by now, we understood that traditional database has a very powerful writing capability and it lacks the reading capability. Now coming back to SAP HANA. Now we'll discuss about SAP HANA. Okay. SAP HANA is developed by the three technologies. SAP HANA is developed by three technologies, and the first technology which got added in SAP HANA database is called TREX. TREX stands for Text Retrieval Extraction. So the first technology which got added in SAP HANA database is called TREX. What is this TREX? TREX is a technology which got developed by a student in the year of 1996 as a part of his academic project. And it became so popular that this technology is also used in search engines. It means if you search something in a search engine, let's search okay. So what I am trying to do now, I am trying to search SAP HANA. Okay. When I am trying to search SAP HANA in Google, see here how many records we have received. We have received some 100 plus millions records only in 0.85 seconds. Imagine to give you these many results, how many records got read in the database, right? So Trex is a technology which provides the reading capability to your SAP HANA database. This technology is also used in search engines, okay, and this technology is added in SAP HANA database, and this provides reading capability to your SAP HANA database, so that what we can understand, we have the best reading capability in SAP HANA database when it compares to traditional databases. Got it? Okay. The next one is, what is the main functionality of the traditional database? Storing the data into the database, and the traditional database has a very powerful writing capability. Now coming to SAP HANA database, it has a very powerful reading capability. What about the writing capability of the SAP HANA database? So the second technology added in SAP HANA database is called as P star time. P star time. What is P star time? P star time is a lightweight database. Which is specially designed to write the data in memory. Understood? P star time is a lightweight database which is specially designed to write the data into the database. Write the data into the memory. Imagine the difference between hard drive and memory. Writing the data into hard drive and writing the data into memory. You will find 100 times faster capability than writing the data into the hard drive. So this P star time provides the writing capability to your SAP HANA database. P star time, what it does? It provides writing capability to your SAP HANA database. So by this what we can say, SAP HANA database has a very powerful reading capability, and along with the reading capability, it also has a very powerful writing capability, which is even higher than the traditional database writing capability. Understood?
Shahid?
Yes.
P star time used in a traditional database?
No.
Okay. And one more question is, what is lightweight database? Means
Lightweight
means
database
what?
is just a name, and this database, it was a third-party database, and SAP acquired this database to add it into the SAP HANA database. Understood?
Okay. Don't know the exact meaning of that word, like LDAP also, lightweight directory access protocol.
LDAP is completely different. Leave about LDAP. LDAP is what? That is used for storing the user's data. Like we have Active Directory. Don't get confused.
Yeah.
Just try to get some basics. After you understand all the concept, then you will come to know what exactly it is. Okay?
Okay. Yeah.
So this is what the P star time, which provides the writing capability to your SAP HANA database. Okay. So where we are going to write the data into the database? In HANA database. We are going to write the data into the HANA database in memory. Then where is the security? In memory is what? It's a volatile. Memory is volatile. It means if you shut down or if something goes wrong with your system, all the data will be erased from your memory. So are you ready to lose the data? No, I don't want to lose even a single bit of data. Then how it is possible with this in-memory database? It is possible by a technology called MaxDB, which is SAP's own database again. MaxDB. Okay. The third technology which got added in SAP HANA database is called as MaxDB. And MaxDB provides backup functionality to your SAP HANA database. Understood? How it is going to provide backup functionality, that I'll explain now. So this is what your physical layer of the database. It means the hard drive. Okay, the physical layer is controlled, the physical layer of the SAP HANA database is controlled by the MaxDB technology. So when you start your SAP HANA database, what happens? Okay, now we are in memory, right? So the entire data is in memory now. So what happens when you shut down your HANA database? Whatever the data you have in memory, that is going to be stored in your physical drive, hard drive, which is controlled by MaxDB technology. So when I shut down the system, whatever the data we have here in memory, that is going to be stored in physical drive. Okay, so we have successfully shut down the system. Now we are going to start the system. When we start the system, when we start SAP HANA database, whatever the data it has in physical drive, that is going to be loaded into memory at the time of starting the database. Okay, so the database is started, all the data from physical layer is loaded into memory. Now what you are going to do? You are going to perform the operations and the daily transactions. Okay, so you started performing the daily operations. When we started performing daily activities and operations, what happens? New data is going to be created and the existing data is also going to be changed. Okay, when new data is going to be created, if something goes wrong with the system or if system gets crashed, then what about this new data and the change data? Is it going to be lost? No. So we have a concept called save point. Okay, we have a concept called save point. Save point. So what is this save point? By default, the value of the save point is 300 seconds. It means whatever the operations you perform in memory, that is going to be updated into your physical drive by the save point. Understood? Save point is what? It's a trigger. After every 300 seconds, it is going to update the data from memory into your physical drive. And you can also change this value even to 10 seconds. Understood? You can also change this value to 10 seconds. It means whatever the operations I perform in memory, that is going to be stored in physical drive every 10 seconds. Understood? Okay, what happens if system goes fail after completion of 9 seconds? For example, I am performing an operation here in memory. Okay, exactly at the 10 second the system got failed. It means, are we going to lose 9 seconds of data? because we have set the save point value as 10. Generally we don't define the save point value as 10. The regular save point value, general save point value is 100 seconds in every organization. It depends on organization to organization. Okay, so assume that we have defined the save point value as 10 seconds, and after completion of 9 seconds, at the time of 10 seconds the system got failed. So are we going to lose that 9 seconds of data? No, we are not even going to lose that 9 seconds of data. We have a concept called log mechanism by which we can even okay, so we have a log mechanism by which we can even recover that 9 seconds of data. We can even recover that last 9 seconds of data by using logs. Understood? We have log backup and log recovery. Okay, that is discussed in HANA administration session. Okay, so we don't discuss this log mechanism in SAP HANA Security. So have you understood now what exactly SAP HANA database? And we'll also discuss about one of the best functionality of the SAP HANA database is SAP HANA database supports row store and column store functionality. Row store table and column store table. SAP HANA database has row store table and it also has column store table. Okay, when it comes to traditional databases, in traditional databases the data is going to be stored in row store table, and this is the new functionality of SAP HANA database, that is column store table. So HANA database supports row store table and column store table. What is the advantage of column store table? The advantage of the column store table is that it is going to store the data in compressed format. Understood? It is going to store the data in compressed format. Assume that you have, this is what, Oracle database, and you have 500 GB of data, and the same 500 GB of data can be stored in SAP HANA database in around 50 GB. We cannot say exactly 50 GB. It can be stored in 48 GB, it can be stored in 60 GB, but we need to assume that it is 50 GB. It means, by this what we can understand, in column store table the data is going to be stored in compressed format. Okay, and by this functionality SAP HANA provides 10x compression rate. 10x compression rate is what? 10x compression rate. It means if you have 500 GB of data in traditional database, that same data can be stored in around 50 GB when it comes to SAP HANA database. That is one of the best functionality of SAP HANA database, which is provided by column store table. Got it? So have you understood what is SAP HANA? So SAP HANA database is developed by the three technologies. Text technology provides reading capability to your SAP HANA database, and which is a very powerful reading technology, text. And then we have P star time. P star time provides the writing capability to your SAP HANA database, which is also a very powerful writing mechanism compares to traditional database. And when it comes to traditional database, the main functionality of the traditional database is to write the data into the database. Understood? Then we have MaxDB. So SAP HANA database is what? It's an in-memory database. IMC stands for in-memory computing engine, and the data is going to be stored in this database is in memory. So where is the backup? If something goes wrong, who are responsible for that? So we have a physical layer as well for this database, and that physical layer is controlled by MaxDB, which is SAP's own database. Understood? And SAP HANA database also has application server capability. It also has an engine which can process your data. When it comes to traditional database, what happens? Assume that this is your Oracle database, okay, and let's have an application, and this is what your SAP BW system, okay. So now what happens here? You are going to perform a particular transaction. So the request, what it does, whenever you perform a transaction, this application layer needs to communicate with the database, and after it communicates with the database, it brings the data from database into the application server, and after it retrieves the data from database into the application server, then it is going to process your transaction or query or operation. Understood? So where the transaction is going to be processed in this scenario, here in your application server. But if it is HANA database, you know what happens? If it is HANA database, okay, so if it is HANA database, what happens? Whenever you perform a particular transaction, the request comes to the application server, and then application server sends the request to the HANA database, and it won't bring the data into the application server and process the request. It is called pull down technology. If it is traditional database, push up. You need to bring the data from database into application server, and then you need to process the request. But when it comes to HANA database, it is called pull down technology. So you just need to pull down your request, then it goes to the HANA database, and HANA database itself will process your request, then provides the result to your application server. Then this application server will dispatch the request or output of the request or result output of the request or the operation to the end users. Understood? So this is what all about SAP HANA database. And Vidyan, please go ahead. What's your doubt?
You are talking about the physical database which is controlled by MaxDB. That physical database is something different?
Sorry?
Or is you said the physical database is controlled by MaxDB.
Yes, exactly.
So we have so the physical database here, it means is there something else? I mean,
no, you cannot see. No, you cannot see these technologies individually. These technologies are integrated in SAP HANA database. You won't find anywhere this MaxDB or P*Time or Trex in SAP HANA. By using these technologies, HANA database is developed. It is completely integrated. Got it?
So MaxDB, Trex are all integrated into HANA database.
Yes, exactly.
And it works.
You cannot see or you cannot find these technologies individually. It is just integrated, so, inbuilt.
Okay, the MaxDB which controls or the physical database can be any database. It can be Oracle also?
No, it cannot be. That's what HANA database has these technologies, and these are the inbuilt technologies, you can say, are integrated into HANA database. Understood? You cannot remove this MaxDB and you cannot add Oracle database. Again, you need to develop a new HANA database. Yes, please.
So the database that is used in HANA is MaxDB?
No, you cannot say MaxDB. You cannot say this MaxDB anywhere in SAP HANA database. It is used to develop HANA database, that's it. Understood? Database is what? HANA database itself is a database. For example, Oracle. Yes. How Oracle is developed? Oracle might be developed by using number of technologies, and we don't know what those technologies and how Oracle database is developed. We cannot say.
So they have taken the.
Please go ahead.
No.
Yeah, they have taken the logic of MaxDB and developed this database.
That's it. That we can understand.
Okay.
Leave about MaxDB, P time and Trex. Don't use these terminologies anywhere. Just to understand how this database is developed, we have to discuss about these three technologies and how these three technologies provides the functionality to SAP HANA database. Got it? Nowhere you find these technologies in SAP HANA database. Okay? Okay. Yes.
Yeah, can you explain me like that last step, SAP BW, if it is integrated with HANA DB, once the request comes.
Very simple, just hold for a moment. Yeah, I understood your question. See, every application is backed by a database. Any application. Okay? Whether you take ECC, whether you take BW, CRM, SRM, SCM, or even non-SAP applications will also be backed up by a database. Application is what? Application provides the functionality to your application. Understood? So where the data is going to be stored in application? In database. So whenever you request data or whenever you perform a particular transaction, assume that you are going to perform a transaction, you want to have some data. So the request comes from the user. Presentation layer. The presentation layer can be SAP GUI or it can be any web technology. Okay, so the request comes to the application server first. Okay, and after application server receives the request, based on the type of the request, based on the data requested in the request, it communicates with the database and then it brings the data from database into SAP into application server. After it brings the data into the application server, okay, then this application server is going to process your request. Once it processes your request, after it processes request, it will provide the output, which is the result of your request. Then the output will be dispatched to the end user or the presentation layer. So what we are doing, we are bringing the data from database into application server. But if you are using HANA database, you are not going to bring the data from database into the application server. You are just pulling down the request. Then HANA database itself will process your request and provide the output or the result to your application server, which will be dispatched to the presentation layer or to the user. Again, this is what all about basis administration concepts. Understood? We are here for SAP HANA security. So I am just explaining you this HANA database introduction because I am already from SAP HANA database. Okay, I am certified in SAP HANA database. I am explaining you some more concepts, but these concepts belong to administrators and we don't have any involvement when it comes to security guys. Understood? But I want you to understand each and every concept clearly from the beginning. Is everything clear as of now?
Yes, I am clear.
Okay.
Yes.
Geeta, Niharika, Vidyanand. Jay Kumar, any doubts? Is everything clear? Okay. Now,
Yeah, Shahid. Yeah.
the next concept is we have HANA architecture, which is also not required for securities, but still we'll discuss about HANA architecture so that you can understand how the request is processed in SAP HANA database. Okay, and after this I'll also show you how to install SAP HANA database. This is also not a part of SAP HANA security. The reason to show you how to install HANA database is because you have to practice. So before you practice, you need to install your own database and then you have to start practicing, creating users, creating roles, creating privileges. Understood? Okay? Okay. So we'll discuss about HANA architecture. Okay? We'll have 5 to 10 minutes break and then we'll continue our session. Okay? Thank you.
Okay.